So I've noticed that lately there's been a lot of speculation surrounding Kunigami's character. So today I want to shed a light onto Kunigami and break down his character, so you get a more clear idea of what's going on. So, I think a good place to start is by breaking down what he's done in the Neo-Egoist League so far. He has been very active at the start in the Neo-Egoist League, with his tally being an impressive 2 goals after the Manshine City match. Let's do an analysis on the goals he has scored in the Neo-Egoist League so far. So the first goal was in Chapter 167, which started with Isagi not being sure if he was able to assert himself in the team against the FC Barca team. He stole the ball from Ness and moved up the field. But his intention wasn't scoring a goal, as he passed the ball to Kunigami instead. This was the first time we've seen his lefty shot in action as he prepared to shoot, even though he was getting pressed on hard. But he still shot the ball into the left upper corner anyways, scoring the winning goal for Bastard Munchin. Now, there are 2 reasons that have made this goal possible. The first reason is Isagi basically spoon-feeding Kunigami instead of choosing the more rational option, which was Michael Kaiser. And the second reason is that Kunigami has become pretty close to ambidextrous because of the training he has gone through in the wild card. For clarification to those of you who don't know, ambidextrous basically means that you can shoot with both legs. Now let's move on to his second and final goal in the Neo-Egoist League so far. And it was Isagi again who was the cause of it. Aren't you guys seeing a clear pattern? Because I am. So Isagi and Corona were doing their planet hotline, passing the ball around. But as Isagi got the perfect opportunity to shoot, Kaiser tried getting in his way as Kaiser noticed that Isagi's vision had pretty much got on par with his. Even against all of Isagi's odds, he shot the ball through Kaiser's leg, aimed for the left upper corner. But Kunigami got in the way as he predicted the trajectory of Isagi's shot, and as a result, he shot it right into the net himself. The display of egocentrism here is unmatched. So, what can we deduce from these 2 goals? I think the biggest component of those goals was Isagi Yoichi. In his second goal, he outright stole it from Isagi, which is obvious. But in the first goal, he just spoon-fed it to him. So this means that even at the beginning stages of the Neo-Egoist League, Kunigami couldn't score a goal of his own. It sounds oddly similar to what Kaiser said to Ness after he made that bicycle kick. Isagi has actually been the cause of a lot of goals so far, even if he wasn't making them himself. Now here's where things go from bad to worse. Bastard Munchin's match against Ubers. Kunigami has done very little here, to really hammer into you how little he has actually done. Literally, the only thing I remember him doing in that match is him seeing through Baru's shot and saving it with his left leg. So, I'm not even going to bother going into every interaction with Ubers he has had in this match. I'll use this moment to quickly ask you guys that if you are liking my content so far and wish to support me, subscribe to the channel. Now back to the video. I believe that the biggest reason for him underperforming in the Neo-Egoist League is because of what happened all the way back in the second selection. Isagi's team won the 3v3 against Kunigami, Chigiri, and Ryo, with Baru scoring the final goal, having seen his newly found chop dribbles which took place in Chapter 67. Kunigami's team lost, and Chigiri was the one getting picked to play on their team. After that, Chigiri tells Kunigami that he'll be holding onto the same frustration that he has and wait for him up there. This interaction basically shows that Chigiri has faith in Kunigami and wants him to succeed as well. But the issue here is that Kunigami didn't even get the time to reflect on his actions. One could say that the reason was because he had to take care of Ryo as well, who was breaking down as Nagi walked to the next stage. But that's not the case, since he could have just waited a couple of days before choosing a new opponent to play against for their 2 versus 2. But he chose to challenge Shido and Igaguri instead, since Ryo didn't really think that match would be too difficult for them to get through, only because Igaguri was involved in it as well. So in Chapter 94, we get to see Kunigami breaking down as we see that Shido chose Ryo over Kunigami, telling Igaguri that he's just a little more worth it. Shido tells him that someone who can't break himself down will never be able to trigger an explosion. So Kunigami ponders on what he's lacking and which part of his ideologies was wrong. He thought that his dream had ended, but then he came across the wild card, a loser's qualifier round. Now in that flashback, we could see that Kunigami was clearly pondering on why he's lost, but even that didn't seem to help Kunigami in the present day, so he has clearly not figured out the source of his loss at all. In my belief, it's actually the wild card that destroyed Kunigami from the inside. I think that's the case because assuming that everyone that lost before the third selection had chosen the wild card, he has been destroying so many lives, which didn't really align with idealistic values of wanting to become a hero. He has likely realized that this world is a very competitive one and accepted that the only way he can move forward is through destroying other people's lives. We can see that physically there's nothing wrong with Kunigami at all, as he's become many times stronger after he came out of the wild card, literally being placed third even amongst the Bastard Munchin players. The reason why this is so impressive is that the second highest ranked player from Blue Lock was Yukimiya Kenyu, and imagine that he was only in 13th place. So this is why I think that the reason for Kunigami not being able to match up with the rest has nothing to do with the way he is physically, but rather a mentality thing. I think that in Kunigami's mind, he has failed himself and the rest even after he came out of the wild card victorious. His ego is destroyed together with his self-belief. So right now, as a striker, I don't really think he is worth much unless he fixes this mental barrier of his. But I firmly believe and trust Kunigami that he will pick himself up again at the PXG match. There has to be at least some character development involved now that he's gotten destroyed, don't you think? And the two biggest components that will make that happen are Chigiri and Shidu. I could go into more detail about that, but that would make this video simply way more stretched out than it needs to be since we're only talking about his worth at the present moment. If this video gets anywhere between 300 and 400 likes, I'll make a part 2 about how Kunigami will resurrect himself. If you egoists resonate with my content, feel free to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I'm out. Peace.